Minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back. And as we reminded you, the government has scheduled a press briefing, and when it starts, we're going to take it. We were anticipating it to be just about now, but as soon as it is, we shall take it. So it may find us talking, and we'll cut away if you're on the air. We apologize to you now, but as it starts, we will go straight to it, all right? But give us a call, 949-8037, 949-6990. Or you can WhatsApp call 925-32621. One of our listeners, in reference to the lady to this call, says she has Cayman in heart, not just at heart, and commends her for, being somebody who sees, that the changes are not necessarily always, in our best. Another one message says 100% in agreement with that last caller, and it is. Well, here's a slight change. This individual sends a few pictures, and we've had a few more from others in relation to some of the larger construction sites where it would appear that, there are debris at the, upper levels, multi-story buildings, debris hanging over the area, over the edge, or tossed about. One individual, as I read it, is, making an appeal for the construction superintendents and like to visit those sites, or whether you restarted work on the site or not, to make sure that the scaffolding and all the other things are secure, that they don't just potential fall and hit others on the ground, but create potential damage as it rips away from the building. One person says, we don't understand sometimes how people do things on these construction sites, whether they were properly secured or not during the hurricane. Maybe part of the assessment that could be had now is that we consider to what extent these sites were in fact prepared adequately to ensure that no potential damage could come from the debris from those sites or things falling. One individual shares that they saw I guess that's scaffolding. Yeah. So those, structures erected on the exterior of the building to allow the workers to get up and do things to the exterior of the building still remaining in place. This person writes that, when he was building his house, he secured all of that, took it down, disassembled it, and packed it away for Ivan. It was a lot of work. Now, someone might say, well, that's a solid structure. It won't topple over. But can you guarantee that it wouldn't, he says? All right, so again, maybe to many, we turn a blind eye to much. Maybe we're not sufficiently informed or sufficiently courageous. Perhaps we're too kind and accommodating, and we allow people to do as they want. And we listen to the last caller. Someone says, she definitely knows what she is saying. So to the caller before the news, many have commended you for having the courage to speak. Unfortunate, but probably expected. Some would condemn you, and me even more so for even bringing that to the public's attention. But what's sad is that I didn't say it because I'm the only one that thought it, or that I didn't hear it anywhere else. What was sad is, as I said to one fella, hey, call in and make a comment, read it, and I'll read it. We don't want to be offensive. We're not confrontational. That's fine. I think most of us like that. But as the caller emphasize, if we turn a blind eye to what may seem like simple, insignificant things, will they fester and become compounded, and the next thing is it's worse. Now, she says, and I agree with her, that's not insignificant. It doesn't take much or stretch of imagination to realize how potentially that could be worse should something happen and roadways are blocked, emergency vehicles can't get through, lives are at risk. Now, many heard one of the former commissioners police talk about the broken windows. I guess like a number of us, we probably read that Gladwell book. As much as some of the things he writes, he just has a style that seems to be, not the most pleasant, but nonetheless, he was on to a meaningful concept. You ignore the small things, and then you ignore them, and from the small becomes the worst, because it gets larger, and then all of a sudden you're going from petty crime to just full anarchy, and it can happen. Think of the example that we all heard about, the frog in water. You throw it into boiling water, it probably will jump out if you can. But leave it there in a nice, comfortable setting and slowly turn that heat up. It'll probably stay there and boil to death. At least that's what we're told. I've never tested it. Don't plan to either. But what's on your mind? Here, 949-837, 949-6990. The Ministers Association, we're told, is having, let me just get it so we have it right. It's this Sunday. What time did they say? Want to make sure we have it. So, the Ministers Association sent the information that at 5 p.m. on the grounds of the Glass House this Sunday, Pastor Bob and the like having a Thanksgiving event at 5 o'clock this Sunday on the grounds of the Glass House. They reached out to us at just before midday, so we will share that with you as well. So 5 p.m. this Sunday, if you want to join those who will assemble in prayer, and that's this Sunday. 8949-837, 949-6990. Our WhatsApp call 925-3261, and share your thoughts with us. Once the press briefing starts, we will take it to you live and hear from our elected political leadership and all those other appointed personnel who will be assembled, maybe giving us a perspective. I don't have a script for what's going to be shared, so you're going to have to stay tuned and listen. If the briefing is 5 minutes long, we're going to start the show after that. If it's an hour long and there's still time, we'll come back and do the show. That's the plan. If it finishes at 2:30, probably, I'll see if I can convince the team here. I might get a couple of seconds to say goodbye, but probably not. So we will be here listening and waiting, and if it ends, within the time. All right. So my friends say take a break because you want to get these commercials in. All right. Stay tuned.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Summer's heating up, and so are the good times. Whether you are out on the water, enjoying the beach, or gathering with colleagues for an office bash, make it a feast to remember with Subway. From assorted sandwich platters to mouth-watering cookies, our catering menu has something for everyone. Perfect for groups of 5 or more. For food that's fresh, fast, and perfect for any occasion, choose Subway Catering. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
The 7 a.m. Sports Report, brought to you by Dr. Wayne Porter, offering a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today.
The mission of the National Conservation Council and the Department of Environment is to ensure our islands consider responsible use of our natural resources while preserving our native species and habitats for future generations. Learn more at conservation.ky.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. And as we were reminding you, the government has a press briefing that was scheduled for 1 p.m. As they, get in gear and get it, organized. We will bring it live. But in the meantime, as the wonderful thing of live radio, we show are here. So give us a shout. 8949-837, 949-6990. Thanks for calling. Hey, welcome. How are you? Yeah, hello.
Hey, hello, Sterling.
Hey, I hope and pray you and all around you are well.
For the most, thank God, and the same for you and yours.
Thank you, man. And for what it's worth, right? I didn't get to taste the beef soup, but man, just the picture looked good.
It was big enough for us to go some left or stored away,
Man.
Who knows,
Good to hear from you, man.
Thanks. Yeah, man, I thought I would kind of, I said, you know what? Let us just do something really nice and calm down, after running for 2 days, 3 days, because it felt forever.
It did indeed, yes.
So I know you're waiting on the press conference, and I've been wrestling about whether to call and share my thoughts on what I want to share it on.
Well, if you wish, though, we'll listen, man.
So I've called, so I pulled the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try to gingerly go through my thoughts so that it doesn't.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's press briefing. I'm Donna Bush. We're here with our leaders today to find out and get information, vital information that is on. We'll begin with a prayer from our Honorable Premier.
Thank you. Shall we pray? Almighty God, we just pause to acknowledge your deity, Lord. We want to thank you for safely bringing us through and answering prayer. We thank you that we're in a country where we can still freely, without fear of contradiction, acknowledge Almighty God. We want to thank you for everyone that played their role, the media, the government, the civil society, individual person, Lord, and adhere to the various notices that went out so that we were prepared as best that we could. Lord, today as we come to this press conference with closing remarks, an opportunity for the media to ask questions, to serve as a conduit to get it out to our constituents, we pray that your divine presence would just be here with us, guide and direct. Give us the wisdom, knowledge, the temperament that would be pleased and exalt your name. These mercies and favors we ask in Jesus' name with thanksgiving. Amen.
Thank you very much, Premier O'Connor Connolly. Joining us on the panel today are Her Excellency Governor Jane Owen, Premier the Honourable Jana O'Connor Connolly, Deputy Premier the Honourable Andre Ebanks, Minister of Tourism and Ports the Honourable Kenneth Bryan, and Minister of Health and Wellness and Home Affairs the Honourable Sabrina Turner. Also joining us in studio are members, senior civil servants, as well as members of the media who are also, some of whom are also joining us via Zoom. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin by going to Her Excellency, Governor Jane Owen.
Thank you very much, Donna, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming into this conference. It feels quite a relief, doesn't it, to be here on Friday morning, kind of looking back over the last 48 hours, or indeed the last 5 days, really. It's been my first experience of preparing for a really big weather event here in Cayman. I've never experienced a hurricane before. So for me, it's been a big learning experience, and I'm so grateful to all of the support I've had and the great collaboration from Honourable Premier, the whole of Cabinet colleagues sitting with me here, and indeed everybody else. It was a relief to go back to Government House last night and to find it still standing. And I hope many of you have had a similar experience to me, you know, a bit of foliage in the garden, but no major damage. My real takeaway from all of this has been to be so impressed with how Cayman together has handled the whole event. I've been very impressed, obviously, with our emergency services, but also the structures that we've put in place right across government. And very importantly, I've been really impressed with all of you, you know, everybody out there, all of our community that has come together to share information, figure out what we're doing, and stick together and try and come together to tackle things as a group. I went round yesterday, driving around with Honourable Premier. We were looking at the damage, the debris going around the roads. There was quite a lot of rain, wasn't there, yesterday afternoon, so we were driving through that. And it was, again, rather a relief to see not too much damage. I was very impressed to see, though, even within a few hours of the all clear, just how much work was going on to tidy things up, which is so crucial for us getting back to work. So thank you very much to everybody who is part of that effort to get back up and running, because we shouldn't forget that that involves a huge number of people as well. We sit here today on the 5th of July. It's very early in the season, isn't it? So I think we are also very aware that we are at the start of the season. We need to continue to be prepared. How are we going to do that? Well, relying on all of you and our structures to continue to plan. The United Kingdom stands with us. They just had an election yesterday. I'm sure some of you might have been watching that. Honourable Premier and I had the pleasure of speaking to our new Foreign Secretary, David Lammy. We had a conversation with him this morning. I'm sure Premier might want to say a bit more about that, but he was very, very supportive and very concerned and very pleased that we hadn't had too bad a hit. So he was asking lots of questions about that and reaffirming the UK's commitment to our islands. So one of the concrete examples of that commitment that you will see later today and tomorrow will be, we have got this ship in the region. It's there to provide humanitarian and disaster support. Obviously, we're not going to need them to be doing a huge amount of that over the next couple of days. But what we do need to do is to work together to plan for future events. So that is why the ship will be coming in. We will be having these strategic conversations, getting to know each other well, because the ship will continue to be in the region for the whole of the hurricane season, which I think will be something of a comfort and can be an offer of supplementary and supportive help to the great response that we have got here on island anyway. So all of that is good news, I think, and I wish you all well. Thank you for helping to ensure that we've got through this and everyone has managed to stay safe. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We're now going to go to our Honourable Premier, Ms. Juliana O'Connor-Connolly.
Thank you, Dawn, and good evening to all. It is with a profound sense of gratitude and relief that I address you here this afternoon. Indeed, our prayers have been answered. I make no apology for that. After the passage of Hurricane Beryl, the all clear was given for all three of our islands, as you would recall yesterday, with no reports of injuries to residents or visitors. As far as we are aware of now, there have been no deaths reported that are directly related to Hurricane Beryl. You would have heard that there are 3 deaths, I believe, in the Eastern District, but they have, I'm reliably informed that they have no direct relationship to Hurricane Beryl. As Jeremiah said in Lamentations chapter 3, 22 and 23, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For his compassions, they never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And I believe that if we're not able to say that after this, then Perhaps I need to invite you to church on Sunday morning. All airports, I'm happy to report, including the Owen Roberts Airport in Grand Cayman, as well as the Charles Colonel International Airport in Cayman, are open, and my Minister of Tourism will give more fulsome details on that. The cleanup operations are also currently underway across the country to ensure the well-being of our residents and visitors. And I give apologies for my minister responsible for infrastructure, Honourable J. Ebanks, who is attending the families who have lost loved ones this morning, and the Minister for Tourism will stand in his stead and give the report. He also has Ms. Leda Nicholson-Coe here with us in the event he needs to have any holding of the arms. The Minister responsible for sports and youth as well has also provided information from his ministry, and I've asked my esteemed Deputy Premier to, after he's done his, to deliver the remarks in that regard for the Honourable Minister Isaac Rankin. I would also like to say that while we know that some residents, especially those on the southwest of Grand Cayman, suffered some severe damage, and as Her Excellency said, we had an opportunity to tour all 19 constituents yesterday, all 17. I won't get to tour mine until sometime late tonight or tomorrow morning. We were able to see the damage that was caused by waves. We have generally been spared widespread damage. There is obviously damage to our agriculture. I myself, being a farmer, not really looking forward to touring my farm tomorrow morning. I've seen pictures that it was described to me that I have a carpet of avocados and mangoes. So I suspect my colleague farmers have suffered the same damage. So we will direct our minds to that to see what type of approach we can take, because food security is everybody's business, and we want to ensure that we have stabilized and give all the assistance that Honourable Minister J may need in that regard. Now that the hurricane has passed, and boy are we glad that it has passed, it's beyond our shores, our focus have now turned to recovery, restoration, in order to allow normal life to return. And I am, as leader and as an individual, I am ever so elated to see that despite what we prepared for and what could have happened, as we toured and as I spoke again to PM Holness, and I'll speak a bit later after my minister has spoken, to a meeting that I was involved in with my CARICOM brothers and sisters who lead the territory. We are still overwhelmed with joy to see what could have happened based on previous storms of lesser speed and intensity to what have happened now. I mean, it's nothing short of miraculous, and we just thank Almighty God again. I also want to say that the comprehensive, and indeed it was comprehensive, collaboration with our weather forecasting and the disaster management agencies, we have been able to safeguard, I believe, the lives of our people, community, and property. And it was delightful. Most persons, if they're honest, come Friday, they're reach a level of diminishing returns, and they're thinking that it's going to be 5 o'clock somewhere. But our teams in the private sector as well as in government showed up for work, and it's business as usual. And that is a tremendous blessing to a jurisdiction that depends heavily on financial services, to which my colleague, the DP, will speak to, as well as the regular life within the Caribbean, and in particular here, the Minister of Tourism. I am reliably informed, and he can relate this. We expect our first cruise ship after Beryl to be in harbour on Monday. And so we have obviously focused and requested that the cleanup exercise be concentrated in the capital in Georgetown, because although there's no way in the Bible that cleanliness is next to godliness, it doesn't hurt to portray the Caymanian that we are accustomed to. I wish also once again to thank Her Excellency the Governor. The camaraderie and the partnership and the unity that was displayed really has resonated with people. I mean, I'm trying to keep up with my WhatsApp. They're coming in fast and furious, not just locally but international, from all around the world. But I can say repeatedly they've remarked about the communication, the clarity, the efficiency, and how it expedited and it settled the fears, and each person have different remarks, but that's the commonality that's coming in. And in fact, I said to Danny this morning when we had our briefing, I think that we have now run through the exercise sufficiently enough that we now need in our aspirational goals to nation build, not just within the jurisprudence and the 12-mile territorial border, but also we can lend a helping hand with taking what has proven to be a success, put it electronically, and let's share it with our Caribbean brothers and sisters. This is what we did in Cayman, to front load and to do as social media, Radio Cayman, all of our written journalist friends, get the word out, because knowledge is power. And I think most of us in the Caribbean now have undergone a significant event. For us in Cayman, it's been Ivan 2004, on the Black Paloma 2009, Jamaica, Gilbert 1988 and 89. Forgive my memory on that fact check, but it was somewhere around that time. When we spoke to the leaders, that has resonated. Maria in the Eastern Caribbean, Thomas in St. Lucia, that we now have entrenched us that is nothing to play with. And so when your trusted government official sources send out a clarion call, this is what we expected. People have actually adhered. And I want to give a huge shout out to every single, if you remember, I called upon every single able-bodied person, man, woman, boy, and child, to come and put hands on deck, and a good ship came in. And I'm elated, I'm delighted, I'm ecstatic to report this morning that I have no report from Commissioner Walton of not one single solitary breach. It was not a curfew, it was not a state of emergency. Our people have learned to understand that you have a caring government, irrespective of the where you come from politically, and that was not a choice. You would have seen from the very beginning, I reached out and embraced the opposition. They responded because it's about saving lives, which is everybody's business, and I believe that Danny, has to go in the handbook, that when it comes to national disasters, not just egos should be left at the door, but political preferences should also be left at the door. I also wish to thank the public service, the civil service. Everybody played their role. And there's a very simple deductive analysis that can come from basic logic 101. If all of the individual parts play their role, then the whole does not have to worry from a holistic perspective. It just majestically come together as one. And I think that is what has been displayed in the last 24 hours. It seemed like it's been a long time ago. Like the governor, I was delighted, a bit weary, but delighted to be able not to sleep in a hurricane cot, even though it's just for 1.5 hours. I can tell you it's not the preferred asset for sleeping on. And in fact, it caused run. And I want to also go on record. Those civil servants that didn't have to come in, but chose to come in and stayed, and Rhonda Webster was one of those who showed up, didn't have to come, wasn't part of Danny's team or her team, and showed up to stay in the Premier's office to just to be there for secretarial things. Yes, you do have fairly young, I think I still can say I'm fairly young, who came through the era that we can use a computer and we know about technology, but it was good to know that there was somebody else there to devolve some of the administrative duties, simple duties. And the one thing that I saw emanated quite conspicuously as we walked around, it wasn't a Ministry of Tourism or Children and Family Affairs. We were all Caymanians. And when I say that, I'm not talking about whether you're a resident or a foreigner. We were Caymanians because we were here for such a time as this. And the humanity became the commonality that was very conspicuous. That is what is going to take as we've had this trial run, and we are at the beginning of a hurricane season. We're here living in Cayman, so we are the custodians, we are the trustees to ensure that our individual families, that our individual properties are taken care of. How do we do that? You listen to your trusted sources, from Danny and her team, from the Met team, and if there was a performance bond that we could give to the Met office. I went yesterday, and I'm deviating a little bit, but I am a firm believer that you give your thanks and your flowers while you're alive, not when you're in your 6-foot condo. So I'm going to take a little bit of indulgence here today. I want to go out and specifically on behalf of Her Excellency the Governor, all of my political team from Parliament, thank the Met Office who, under pressure, even in the mid, went out with my cab secretary out to their original station to make some changes which would allow them to facilitate more accurate on-time forecasting. That is what is going to give us the world-class civil service that we aspire to in the Cayman Islands. I'm also grateful for their exceptional forecasting. I don't know whether it's because they know that they now have a minister who is a weather freak, and they took extra precaution in providing their statistics, and that's in jest, but I can tell you they were on mark. And once we gave the all clear, and we had the assumptions and the presumptions, is this the right time to give the all clear? John Tibbetts came and said, yes, we can give it. Because we wanted to get back to business as soon as we could, but safety was always the paramount consideration. He did indicate, and we passed it on, we have to keep the marine advisory. And I can say there was just one disappointment as we visited the boardwalk in South Sound, which received some damage, and I've given instructions to make that a priority because health and wellness, as my minister will talk to Minister Turner, is important as we try to recover. There was someone out in South Sound just shortly after we gave the all clear, sailing. Let me say it, because others, I'm not running, I'll take the risk and say it. Do not risk the reputation of the Cayman Islands by doing something that is totally nonsensical. Be more responsible. There are 365 days. Delay your gratification for 1 or 2 days and listen to the official sources. That if something happened there in South Sound yesterday, it would mean I would have to send out my Coast Guard, I would have to send out other persons when their energies or synergies could be otherwise utilized in a more sensible way. And we would see that I'm not overreacting, because again, as I spoke to PM Holness, as he was reporting as of this morning, 4 deaths. One of those was with a footballer who decided to play football in the midst of the storm. The ball got away. He went into a waterway and ended up drowning. That is why it's important to listen to official sources. Their information, as I said, from Hurricane Beryl, showed that the wind shear chart on Wednesday morning was a 03.07 of a moderate to strong shear over the Northwest Caribbean. Why am I saying that? For those of you who study the weather, that was important because we believe that that helped to lessen the intensity of the storm as it approached Cayman. Although the eye did not pass over Jamaica, the northern quadrant skirted Kingston, the southern area of Jamaica. It didn't get the full impact of the Blue Mountains, but it got sufficient impact that but after it left Jamaica as a Cat 4, it got down to Cayman, it was a Cat 5, but we were so fortunate. And I just want to say that as we go into recovery and as I am making plans to convene a special cabinet to see how we can reach out our helping hands to our neighboring countries. Of course, we will initially concentrate on Jamaica because it's the Western Caribbean. Our colleagues under CARICOM are concentrated on the Eastern. It does not mean it's inclusive and limited to. We will also be assisting the Eastern Caribbean. But I just wanted to get it out there that we are thinking of our brothers and sisters. And once we have that special cabinet, we will come back to you to let you know the outcome of that. While we are almost unscathed, it's important that, like I said, we recognize our Caribbean neighbors. There are long roads to recovery. I mean, PM Ralph said this morning that there are at least 2 of his islands that it's just totally wiped out. So they have urgent needs like food, water. One of the islands, they have to totally do as we did in Ivan, put back all the light poles and the electricity. So there is a call from most of the islands for linesmen to come, and that is now the logistical aspect of that is being engineered as we speak. I want also to extend heartfelt support and solidarity to all those affected by Hurricane Beryl. We are committed to aiding our neighbors. When we were in trouble, they helped us. But even if they didn't, I think it's the right and responsible thing to do because it's everybody's business to ensure, especially in the Caribbean, that we keep our neighbors as united as possible. Cayman has demonstrated in the last 2 days what it is to be united, and I believe that that is something that we can just herald. I also want to quickly thank the Ministry of Education. Obviously, some of our schools are used for hurricane shelters. over the past few days. Thankfully, school was out. Timing could not have been better. The facilities unit inspected now all of our schools externally and internally, and based on some of that information, all clear was given yesterday. As far as we can see, there are no structural damages. The internal inspections will continue today. Just out of abundance of caution, we understand that there may be some maintenance issues that will have to go on at the Bordentown Primary School in the kitchen area, and we've given instructions for that to be taken care of before the next system comes in. Some buildings had minor leakage in rooms. Cleaners are in site facilitating cleaning so we don't have a mold built up. We lost some roof shingles at the Johanna Clark Primary School. There's some minor damage to the front gate and greenhouse at the John Gray A. Cumber School. The main issues have been landscaping with leaves and debris. Some trees were actually uprooted at the Clifton Hunter High School. Work commenced today to address these matters with landscapers on site as we speak. It is also important that holiday care, the summer school that we've put on for the second time, the nurses at the Easton Primary School, the Creek Primary School, they will recommence on Monday the 8th for this summer program. This will allow staff today to make the necessary adjustments and requisite preparation to receive the children safely on Monday. In terms of our library services, we know that a lot of community are asking about this. The facilities support officer, we have now made visits to all of our libraries, both in Kimmenbrook and Grand Cayman. The only one we have an issue with currently is the Easton Library, and that is because the carpet was wet. The building is closed and staff is working remotely. Easton Library closed again. We have a contractor and he will be doing a steam cleaning to get it ready, hopefully as soon as next week. I also want to say that as Hurricane Beryl intensified in approaching Jamaica as a Cat 4 and 3 for the Cayman Islands, the closest point of approach to the sister islands, I'm reliably informed, was 1 a.m. on the 4th of July with tropical storm force winds of 54 miles per hour. At its closest point at 6 a.m. on the 4th of July, Grand Cayman experienced maximum sustained winds of 40 knots or 46 miles per hour, peak gusts up to 64 miles per hour or 56 knots. Grand Cayman, I'm told, was 2 miles away from hurricane force winds. Rainfall from the 3rd to the 4th total 81.4 millimeters and 3.2 inches on Grand Cayman. The tropical storm force winds were experienced for a duration of 13.5 hours, beginning in the evening of the 3rd of July at 11:30 p.m. in Easton, who was the first to welcome Beryl, and lasting until 1 p.m. on the 4th in the Republic of West Bay. What man you call me a Republic, right? There was an observed wave height in Easton at Jack McKinnell's canyons of 22 feet. There were notable storm surge, raised water level up by 4 feet above the normal tides in the southern coastal areas. The weather outlook, there have been some social media in circulation, so I just want to take a quick second to say that AL96 has weakened to a tropical wave, causing disorganized showers and potentially gusty winds in the greater Antilles. The marine and weather alerts. Small craft caution is still in effect for upcoming adverse weather conditions on Sunday and Monday. The latest information we have is that we should be experiencing some rain on Sunday and Monday. If that changes, we'll come back to you live time with real information from our Met office. Thank you. I went a bit long, but I hope it was important enough to see.
Thank you very much, Premier O'Connor-Connolly. Now we're going to go to our Deputy Premier, the Honorable Andre Ebanks.
Good afternoon, Cayman. Donna, it is a pleasure to see you and our smiling press corps under these circumstances, which could have been completely different. We start off this press briefing with prayer, but I think it's worth repeating to thank and give honor to God for a way in which the Cayman Islands was spared. It's a wonderful sight to tour the constituency to go see the office, see the staff, people going about their business, coming into cab, and people coming in and doing their jobs. On a lighter note, to just show that business just continued as usual, I thought this weather disruption would get me out of going to the dentist this morning. No, the appointment was on and I had to go. Pleased to report. So thank you very much. Honor to God. Turning now to the Ministry for Investment, Innovation, and Social Development, a few updates. From the Needs Assessment Unit, the disbursement of the additional $400 to offset storm costs for those who are long-term financial assistance recipients and those seafarers and vets were all processed. There were approximately 1,760 direct deposits that should now be in all client accounts. There are 172 checks that were processed. They were unable to be distributed prior to burial, but it should be made arrangements to be collected from NEU today. Over 300 clients received top-up on their food cards earlier than expected. The West Bay District usually scheduled needs assessment visit for today will need to be rescheduled, and we'll announce a date in due course. Children and Family, Department of Children and Family Services, all residential facilities have been checked on and all residents and staff are faring well. The DCFS social workers and community development officers have been checking on their clients and residents across the island as soon as the all clear was issued. Sunrise Adult Training Center, Sunrise will open to staff only tomorrow to accommodate some staff scheduling and preparations. Normal service for clients will resume on Monday coming. I'd like to highlight, just as a moment, Donna, the Sunrise drivers and the use of their vehicles that assisted in transporting wheelchair users in the community to shelters all over the country prior to the storm. In terms of our nonprofit organization partners, Meals on Wheels will be doing deliveries and check-ins today as normal. NCVO, Keys, Hope for Today, and the Pines, all of those residents have been checked on and staff are doing well. The Crisis Center walk-in has reopened today, and all of the nonprofit associations have said this is an ample time for me to give another call for charitable contributions from the community, because they would be under more stress under these circumstances. It's a long season ahead. We need to keep our guard up. So all those kind donors and private donors in the community, please feel free to show your graciousness again. And Friends of Cayman's overseas. Computer Services Department switching to innovation. All priority applications for the system were operational throughout the storm. No issues to report. And our Center for Business Development is reopened to clients as of noon today. All programs are running as scheduled. That is a good segue into Financial Services and Commerce, the second ministry. I have reports from Cayman Finance that firms were able to complete work remotely and did not miss a beat during the storm. They have well-established business continuity plans that were again tested and remain solid. I have a report from SEMA. The licensees regulated by SEMA are required to provide the authority with their business continuity plans. Monetary Authority confirms that there have been no issues been reported by licensees from the hurricane. The Monetary Authority's operations continue as usual today. They have a robust business crisis and continuity management plan. Real-time data backups and synchronizations were fully operational if necessary, but they were not stressed during this time. In terms of General Registry, Department of Commerce and Investment, Department of International Tax Cooperation, and the Intellectual Property Office, no issues to report. All public counters are open today. In fact, the DCI said that there were online applications submitted as of start of business this morning. So obviously the public has not missed a beat. Chamber, turning to local commerce. Chamber of Commerce has said that all commerce activities have been restored. There has been an excellent response from the business community in terms of their preparedness and their continuity plans. Supermarkets and supply stores were well stocked, and they voluntarily opened, as we mentioned at the last press briefing, on a public holiday. The Chamber of Commerce activated its Council of Associations to provide important updates, and that's what enabled us to get important intelligence throughout the storm. This may be, Minister Bryan, this may be part of Minister J. Ebanks' update, but I would say, even though CUC is not regulated under my ministry, from what I could see, Premier, I found their communications to be outstanding. They do it sharp and on point, and their responsiveness to the storm held up well. So I'd like to give a shout out to CUC. As mentioned by the Premier, Donna, I'm tasked to read a report on behalf of Minister Isaac Rankin for the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Heritage. I'll turn to that now. Quote, pre and post debriefs were held with senior management to discuss Hurricane Beryl. Prior to Hurricane Beryl's approach, all facilities were secured. As such, Minister Rankin is pleased to inform the public that all facilities are in good condition. National Gallery of the Cayman Islands is good, with the exception of some fallen trees. The National Museum fared well and just needs a bit of tidying up. The Youth Services Unit, which is located at the Intergenerational Hub, is fully operational, with the exception of some minor issues. The Department of Sports it's in good condition with only some minor damage and the cleanup of debris. All staff are in the office and are fully operational. And in real time, the Chief Officer of the Ministry, Ms. Teresa Echenique, wanted me to add this footnote. In addition to the notes that I have just read, highlight that the team and the ministry worked to ensure that valuable artifacts were secured and protected. The ministry also encourages that families always do the same if they have any heritage items that they wish to pass down to their family. If they're unable to secure the same, they please donate those to the museum or contact the ministry on 244-2426. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Minister Ebanks, Deputy Premier. We now turn to Minister Kenneth Bryan.
Thank you, Donna. Good day, everyone. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here, and like my colleagues and Honorable, Her Excellency the Governor and the Premier and Deputy Premier said, thank God that we were spared ever so much. First, I would like to recognize our first responders and our emergency services workers and those who work in the National Emergency Operations Center and our Joint Communications Services, because without them we wouldn't have been so prepared, so responsive, and I really think they need to be at the forefront of where we are today. Also with you as individuals being prepared, you have so much to be grateful for. With that being said, our hearts goes out to our brothers and sisters around our region in the Caribbean who have been affected by the devastation of Hurricane Beryl, and we stand ready, as you heard the Honorable Premier say, to support them. By way of general tourism update, I'm very pleased to report that our infrastructure remains intact and that our attractions and accommodation partners weathered the storm without any significant damage. My team at the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism is contacting all the industry partners to arrange walkthroughs and conduct assessments, and all we've heard so far is everything is positive. Moving on to specific entities that fall within my ministry, the Ministry of Tourism and Ports. On behalf of the Ministry of Tourism, I extend my heartfelt thank you to all of our tourism partners, particularly those at the Cayman Islands Tourism Association. Working with them to let our stakeholders know that what the government is doing was key to making sure that this process was at ease for our visitors on the island. We're very grateful also to our airline partners, but more particularly our national flag carrier, for the amazing work that they did throughout this process. There were significantly increased outbound flights over the past few days to support the safe evacuation of thousands of visitors. I said at the last meeting over 1,000, and that number was wrong. We did a whole lot more, and I'll tell you shortly, to support the evacuations of our residents and our guests. One of the benefits of having a national airline is during times like this, when there's hurricanes or any other kind of emergency, they were able to quickly amend their schedules to aid the preparedness and evacuation efforts. I briefly show the significant efforts that Cayman Airways was able to conduct. They did over 24 evacuation flights and offered a whopping 3,765 incremental seats to persons wishing to evacuate over a 2-day period. I can confirm for Cayman Airways that there was no issues to our aircrafts while the storms were here, and none of the facilities had any major effects here on Grand Cayman or on the sister islands. We have had no reports of any staff being affected in any negative way. Some of them had to fly with the planes and stay ready to come back home, and I'm very proud of them for making the sacrifice. It must have been very stressful knowing your loved ones were at home and you did the country proud. Our jet aircrafts that were overseas for the storm is back home now and at the Owen Roberts International Airport. One jet aircraft was in Miami and ready and scheduled to come back home last night. In respect to recovery operations for international and domestic flights, were conducted yesterday and have been planned to be activated. As you may be out and about, you'll see all of those international airlines landing in Cayman. That means business is back to normal in respect to tourism and guests are arriving. In respect to our Twin Otter and Saab aircrafts are due to be back today and will fly its full scheduled flights with adjusted times between here and Cayman Brac. Just a recap of the changes that took place in Cayman Airways flight schedule to facilitate evacuation efforts on Tuesday, just to show you how significant they have worked. All flights to Havana, Barbados, Honduras operated as scheduled. 7 additional flights were added to Miami to facilitate the needs of persons to evacuate. 4 additional flights were added to Jamaica to facilitate evacuation. On Thursday, all flights to New York and Los Angeles operated as scheduled. 11 additional flights to Miami were scheduled. There was 1 additional flight to and from Cayman Brac. CAL also scheduled 2 Twin Otter shuttles between Little Cayman and Cayman Brac and 3 direct Twin Otter flights from Little Cayman to Grand Cayman to facilitate the evacuation safely of our visitors and our residents. As per the Cayman Islands Airports Authority, as the all clear was given, preliminary assessment of the airport's terminals, buildings, and runways were conducted with no major issues identified. As you know, the airport was open at 3 o'clock yesterday. No significant concerns either at the Charles Cook Colonel International Airport, which was also opened at 3 p.m. yesterday. As per our Port Authority, the Port Authority in Cayman Brac also has no issues and were open to regular hours first thing this morning. The Port Authority in Grand Cayman is in good shape with minor wind damage. Nothing that will stop the operations, as the operations have started back at approximately 10 o'clock this morning, with the general CDC being open to the public. All staff were in to work at 6 a.m. this morning. The aim is for the cargo pier to be in full operation this evening, with the cargo ship in harbor ready to offload. As per the cruise ship schedules, cruise ships are expected to resume sailing as of Monday the 8th. I really wanted to get them here earlier, but that was a part of our regular scheduling. As many of you know, the storm is continuing in the direction of Cancun, and our hearts and prayers are out to the families and businesses in that area. But I have informed the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association President, Ms. Michelle Page, that if the cruise lines need another destination, they are welcome within our borders. There are 2 ships scheduled for next week, one on Monday and the other on Wednesday. As per our National Attractions Authority, Pedro St. James and Queen Elizabeth Park II, trees were down, a lot of debris, but nothing that the staff hasn't been able to take care of. They will be up by Sunday or Monday to open to guests and to our young people who want to do their summer explorations. As per the Cayman Islands Turtle Conservation and Education Center, no infrastructure damage has been observed, and the center requires only landscaping cleanup, and I'm certain the staff are working hard at that as we speak. Pumps that were removed as a part of the hurricane preparedness plan were reinstalled as of yesterday, so our turtles are doing just fine. Cleanup of the tanks have already started. All staff have been informed to report to work and started reassembling the center. As for those who love the dolphins, don't worry, we did our part to assist with that. We've been advised that Dolphin Discovery is using their freshwater pool to keep the dolphins safe throughout the storm, and the venue will be reopened once operations The appropriate cleaning and sanitation has been completed. As I said, the Botanic Park sustained minor damage and was closed over the weekend for restoration works, but they'll be reopened on Monday. As per the National Museum, that falls under the Honorable Isaac Rankin, but it is a key component to our tourism product that will be expected to open later today. As per our accommodations and tourism businesses, the ministry has been informed that none of the major hotels have had any major damage. Minor things like branches and cleanups. The only major one that are having a delay is the hotels in the Eastern District. With all that being said, I am pleased to provide that the reassurance of the Cayman Islands are open for business. Our accommodations, our restaurants, our taxis, our attractions are already open or very, very close to opening. As you heard me say earlier, we are already welcoming international airlines to welcome guests here. As I bring my remarks to a close, it is important that we once again acknowledge the devastating damage that Hurricane Beryl has inflicted upon other Caribbean territories. Tragically, it has claimed 10 lives thus far. Our thoughts and our prayers are with our Caribbean neighbors, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Jamaica, and those who are grappling with the profound loss and devastation. By comparison, the Cayman Islands have been extremely fortunate, but that does not mean that we should be complacent. Hurricane Beryl is just the first major storm of the season, and the forecasters have predicted that there could be up to 8 to 13 hurricanes, of which 4 to 7 could become major hurricanes like Beryl before the season is over. We must not let our guard down. We must continue to be vigilant and stay in a state of readiness in order for us to be able to get through this season. I therefore ask you to hold a sense of togetherness and community spirit that has been so evident across the Cayman Islands over the past few days. It is with this unity that we will see through any further challenges ahead. And I want to remind those that are listening to please keep your supplies. Put the plywood aside, the sandbags aside, and any dry goods that you bought, and keep them because we're going to need them for the rest of this season. With that being said, I want to thank you all for your resilience and your cooperation throughout this process, and may God continue to bless our beloved Cayman Islands. I will give you the update on behalf of the Honorable J. Ebanks after the Minister, Sabrina Turner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryan. We now go to Minister of Health and Wellness and Home Affairs, the Honorable Sabrina Turner.
Thank you, Donna, and good afternoon, everyone. I must share the sentiments of my colleagues and everyone who has spoken before me, and I must say we have been spared and we all have so much to be thankful for. I would like to give updates as the Minister of Health and Wellness, and as I have been informed, all HSA services have been resumed both in Grand Cayman and the Sister Islands. The HSA will contact patients whose appointments and elective surgeries were cancelled on Wednesday and Thursday to reschedule. I would like to also state that we are at the beginning of hurricane season. We have a total of 5 months remaining, and it is important as it relates to the HSA for us to reiterate this very important message. The health services authorities and their facilities, including district centers, are not general hurricane shelters for the public. Persons should not go to accident and emergency department in order to shelter. We would also like to thank the public and shelter wardens for their patience and cooperation as these emergency shelters had to remain open into the evening hours yesterday until all vulnerable persons were collected and transported to their homes. However, please allow me to put things into context where there were close to 80 transports having to return persons home, and they were provided either back to shelters. And while responding to those transports, 911 calls and maneuvering around the inclement weather played an impact. Pharmacy as well was very busy preparing refills for the public before the storm. And in the sister islands, they dispensed 158 prescriptions in total before the storm. Now, normal days, its averages about 80 to 90. In Grand Cayman, approximately 600 refills were dispensed per day from Friday to Wednesday before the storm. On normal days, this would average about 200 to 250. The public needs to be reminded that in addition to their monthly medication, they must request an extra 2 weeks' worth of medication to have set aside for the duration of hurricane season. This way, you wouldn't have to rush to refills before a storm. We would like to extend a huge thanks, definitely, to the public who responded to the call for O positive and O negative blood. They were able to harvest 43 units of blood based on this call, and want to publicly thank those for heeding that call. I'm very thankful for those who, where there was no damage at HSA facilities, and we would like to extend a huge thanks and gratitude for all of those staff who worked tirelessly together to make this a reality. I know that DEH, to give an update on DEH, and a lot of messages have been coming through as it relates to garbage collections. I have been reliably informed that the Department of Environmental Health, and I know pictures are in circulation, has resumed the collection of garbage in all islands. Following the declaration of the all clear, following the passage of Hurricane Beryl, collection crews came out and they're already on the road completing garbage collections. Now, residents are kindly being asked to exercise patience and understanding, as there is a one-day delay in collection schedules scheduled for the rest of this week. Now, routes that would have normally been collected on Thursday will be completed on Friday the 5th, and the routes scheduled for Friday will be done on Saturday, July 6th. As it pertains to the landfill operation, regular operations at all landfills have resumed today, Friday, July 5th. Members of the public are also encouraged to use the 24-hour drop-off site at the entrance of the landfill, which will remain open to facilitate the disposal of small amounts of waste from residential customers, if at all necessary. Now, post-hurricane debris, following this, a waste assessment has been done, and it has been determined that there will not be having any debris sites around the island. So there will not be any temporary debris sites. Residents, in this case, are encouraged to use the 24-hour drop-off site at the entrance of the landfill for disposal of small amounts of waste. Now, in a case of oversized debris, including large pieces of vegetation, residents are encouraged to contact DEH to facilitate the collection of these large items. This includes the fallen trees. Please also note that the department is not in a position to assist in cleaning up of private residents. For information on how to place these debris on the curbside without blocking public roads or access to the motoring public, please, they can call 949-6696, or you can email the team at dehcustomerservice@gov.ky. Now, the DEH assistance will be limited for picking up of disposing of these items only, so it is important that you make any arrangements and just wait for them to respond. DEH will also be issuing a press release as well on multiple social media posts urging residents to exercise caution when handling and preparing foods after this storm. And we want you to maintain good practice of everyday hygiene, washing of hands thoroughly, and using disinfectant wipes when necessary. Now, let's turn our attention over to Ministry of Home Affairs and giving you a brief update as it relates to the Cayman Islands Regiment. The regiment effectively worked in collaboration with our partner agencies at the NEOC to bring relief to the members of the Cayman Islands community. On authority of Her Excellency the Governor, the Cayman Islands Regiment was activated in response to Hurricane Beryl at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 3rd of July. A total of 48 personnel deployed both in Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac, in addition to a host of special vehicles, kit, and equipment. Now, the senior leadership teams were represented at all levels at the National Emergency Command structure, particularly in the Strategic Command Group and the Tactical Command Group. This includes the filling and distribution of 600 sandbags, opening of 9 of the main hurricane shelters, moving essential supplies to these hurricane shelters, moving vulnerable persons, conducting damage reconnaissance post-storm, clearing roots and debris from fallen trees, closing of hurricane shelters as well, and facilitating community engagement and damage assessment post the storm. As it relates to our public safety and 911, during Hurricane Beryl, the 911 service and DPSC operations performed exceptionally well, enduring continued support to safety of our community, and I am pleased to report that there were no significant issues or impacts reported to 911 Center during this time. As it pertains to the volumes of calls, on Wednesday evening, until the all clear was given, 911 Center received a total of 370 calls. Post the all clear, there was an increase in non-emergency calls that's primarily concerning structural damage to homes and down-powered lines. The 911 telecommunicators dispatched emergency services of 202 calls. That was between 5 p.m. on Wednesday and 5 p.m. on Thursday, which include 52 medical calls, including 38 patient transport, bedbound, or persons who were immobile, to shelter facilities and private homes. 45 fire service calls, including down power lines, trees, debris blocking the roadways, and 104 law enforcement calls for service. Now, Emergency Radio Communications Unit also provides services to our partner agencies, and first responders remained fully operational throughout the storm. The resilience built into our system ensured optimum radio coverage throughout the entire event. Our prison service successfully executed its operational contingency plan in response to the threat posed by the hurricane. The prisoners' response was coordinated in line with NEOC's, ensuring a smooth and effective implementation of storm operations protocol. Now, the entire operation was executed without any significant damages or injuries to personnel and infrastructure. The proactive measures and effective multi-agency coordination ensured that the prison service fared extremely well during the hurricane threat. The contingency plan was promptly activated, directing staff to their designated duties. Prisoners were kept informed about the ongoing situation throughout regular updates. Families of prisoners were allowed special accommodation to deliver necessary supplies ahead of the storm's impact, and adequate provisions were in place to ensure sustainability for at least 5 days. Female prisoners and those in the Enhanced Rehabilitation Unit were relocated to Northward Prison, resulting in a total population of 255 prisoners. The prison service was supported by officers from the Royal Cayman Islands Police Firearms Response Unit and were based at Northward Prison for the duration of the storm to ensure security and public safety. In addition, an EMS, ambulance, and crew were also based at Northward Prison as a part of our contingency arrangements. The prison resumed normal operations at approximately 4 p.m. on the 4th of July after the all clear was given. The fire service, in response to the threat of Beryl, the Cayman Islands Fire Service executed its continuity and operational plans, working as part of NEOC's structure to ensure coordination of public safety initiatives. Now, upon receiving the all clear, the fire crews were deployed immediately to conduct damage assessments. Key areas of focus included assessing of light poles, street lights, downed trees, and debris impacting road accessibility. Information gathering was relayed to 911 for collation and used to make critical public safety decisions, including for the all clear. Cayman Islands Fire Service responded to 45 calls between the time of the all clear was issued and midnight on July 4th. Calls included fire alarms, flooding incidents, and down powered lines. All incidents were managed effectively with no reported injuries or major damage. Our cadets, Cayman Islands Cadet Corps, the Cadet Corps successfully activated its continuity of operation plans in response to Hurricane Beryl. Senior leaders were embedded within the NEOC structure at the strategic and tactical levels, and management of non-emergency calls during NEOC's activation, logistical support to partner agencies during the preparation and post-disaster phases. That concludes my submission from this level.
Thank you very much, Minister Turner. We're now going to go back to Minister Bryan, but before we do that, we have to acknowledge that we have in our presence the Acting Deputy Governor, Mr. Eric Bush. Welcome. Okay, now we're going to go to Minister Bryan.
Thank you, Donna. On behalf of the Honourable J. Ebanks, MP and Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I've been asked to deliver Minister J. Ebanks, who unfortunately cannot attend here today because he is there with the family of those who unfortunately passed last evening. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family members and friends. Minister Ebanks has expressed his profound sense of gratitude and admiration for the incredible resilience and unity displayed by the people of the Cayman Islands in the wake of Hurricane Beryl. We're deeply grateful to God that this hurricane moved south of us, sparing us from the worst and the potential impacts. This has been a challenging time for us all, but it has also been a powerful reminder of what human kindness truly means. As Hurricane Beryl approached, we witnessed an outpouring of community spirit, neighbors helping neighbors fill sandbags, put up shelters, ensuring that the safety of our elderly and those in need and securing properties. All of these acts amplified the very best of who we are as a people. The collective efforts of our government ministries, teams, and the public has been nothing short of inspiring. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt thanks to Her Excellency, the Governor, Jane Owen, for her steadfast support and leadership during this crisis. I also want to give my deep gratefulness to the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, our Premier of the Cayman Islands, for her unwavering guidance and dedication to our nation's welfare. My sincere thanks also to the Honourable Andre Ebanks, the Deputy Premier, for his tireless efforts and support. To my colleagues, the Honourable Minister Sabrina Turner and the Honourable Kenneth Bryan, your collaboration commitment has been invaluable. A special mention must be made of our Director, Ms. Danny Coleman, and her remarkable team at the Hazard Management of the Cayman Islands. Your coordination and swift response have been crucial in the pre- and post-recovery efforts. I also want to thank the Director of Communications, Ms. Onisha Richards, along with her respective communicators within the government, for keeping us all properly informed throughout this ordeal. Now moving on to updates on infrastructure and roads. Hurricane Beryl caused some damage to our infrastructure, particularly our roads, which experienced flooding over the last several days. But we responded swiftly by setting up temporary pumping stations at the following locations: 1 at Randite Gardens, 2 at Cumber Avenue, 3 at Badabunu Road, 4 at Prospect Poindexter Road, and 5 at the Linford Pearson near Halifax Road. These measures have been effective in managing the immediate flooding, but we recognize there's need for a permanent solution. As part of our overall stormwater management plan, we're looking to provide long-term solutions for these and other problem areas, including Meadowlark Road, Bedrock Circle, and the Windsor Park area. This effort will require collaboration with the various agencies such as Planning, DOE, and Water Authority. In respect to cleanups and repairs, this morning the National Roads Authority has commenced the cleanup of light debris and fallen branches that are impacting our public roads. A widespread drain cleaning effort is also underway, as many storm drains have been clogged with debris from the storm water runoffs and must be cleared quickly to prepare for any potential future storms. Additionally, the National Roads Authority is working on replacing a number of traffic signs and signal systems that were damaged during the hurricane. We urge all motorists to drive slowly and cautiously in the next coming days, as various crews from CUC, Telecoms, and the National Roads Authority will be scattered across our islands conducting the necessary post-hurricane cleanups and repairs. Please be mindful of standing water on some sections of our roadway and the possibility of missing roadway signs. The police are informing persons who park their vehicles on the roadways to immediately remove them now. These vehicles were placed in these locations to protect them from the hurricane. However, the threat has now passed and immediate removal is required. Note that parking on the bicycle and pedestrian lane is not only illegal under the traffic law, but also causes a serious safety risk for the other road users. Police patrols will be assessing these areas where vehicles were parked for any vehicles that still remain. Please move your vehicles. We don't want to give you any tickets. As per department updates, the Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing is in the process of assessments today and will further advise the office reopening later today. Look out for a press release from that department. The Department of Agriculture, the National Housing Development Trust are in full assessment mode today to give further updates. Department of Vehicle Equipment Services responded throughout the hurricane event, assisting throughout the community in securing houses and their personal items. Post-burial DVDS provided much needed fuel for the emergency services ambulance and their vehicles throughout the mobile fueling ring. For the Public Works Department, the focus is now on post-damage assessment. The PWD is actively participating in the Newark NEOC infrastructure cluster. They coordinated cleanup activities with utilities, with DEH, DVES, DOE, OFREG, and Water Authority, Economics and Statistics Office, and the Planning Department. This included organizing efforts related to utilities, telecoms, CUC matters, water issues, debris cleanups, and emergency repairs. The helicopter was arranged to capture footage of the coastlines and shelters, and an online data collection has been completed. Evaluations of impacts on the government properties and the Cayman Islands overall is in progress. A debriefing is planned for next week with the Public Works, National Roads Authority, DVES, and a representative from HMCI will review and improve the disaster preparedness and responses. As per utilities and services, CUC reported 44 customer minor power outages, which have been addressed already. Thank God they're on now. The Water Authority conducted a scheduled shut-off and services were restored early Thursday afternoon following all the assessments. Cayman Water Company reported no interruptions throughout the storm. Telecoms continued throughout the storm as well and remain in contact. No reports of discontinuation. OFREG confirmed that all fuel suppliers had significant stock to last for several weeks, and thank God we won't need those stocks. Moving forward, our commitment to the long-term resilience of our island remains resolute. The experiences of the past few days have reinforced the importance of preparation, swift response, and community solidarity. We will continue to work diligently to restore and improve our infrastructure, ensuring that we are better prepared for future challenges. I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the teams and the individuals who've worked tirelessly to support our recovery efforts. Your dedication and your hard work are a testament to the strength and the spirit of the Cayman Islands. In closing, let us take pride in our resilience and our unity. We have faced this crisis together, and together we have emerged stronger. Thank you. Please be safe. And on behalf of the Honorable J. Ebanks, God bless these Cayman Islands.
Thank you very much, Minister Bryan. Now it's time for questions from the media and the public. We'll begin with Wendy Ledger from Cayman News Service.
Thanks very much, Donna. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be quick because I'm double booked. Beryl was obviously fueled by an exceptionally hot Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. That's getting hotter. We're going to have probably a lot more storms this year. So can you tell the public why you all feel that this is an appropriate time to remove the scientists from the National Conservation Council or weaken the National Conservation Act in any way, given the mitigating measures the limited mitigation measures that it offers us for, protecting ourselves against future storms?
I can answer that quite easily. Thank you, Wendy, for your concern always on environment. It's admirable and appreciated.
Thank you.
The answer to that is quite easy. I don't even have to think about it because we're not doing it.
Thank you.
So that's an easy fact check. You heard it from me.
Fantastic. Okay, I can go very, very quickly to the second question then. It was probably for Minister that's not here, Ms. Cathy, but obviously everybody realises that there's some issues still going on with regen and it's not coming on board. Given, again, we've got just foliage debris this time, but the next storm it could be concrete, rubble and everything. Are we going to do another review of the landfill to check the true life of the existing Mount Trashmore to get us through the next few years and how long and everything? Is that on the cards? And also, it'd be great if you could say what's happening with regen, but I don't expect you to.
Okay. What I can do is to be a conduit to convey what your concerns are, and because in your own admissions in the next few years, I'm going to ask my minister to get it out to you in the next few days.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I got to rush. But
you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We now go to Ralph Lewis from the Caymanian Times.
Good afternoon, Donna, and good afternoon, members of the panel. I want to thank you for your detailed presentations because it has sort of deleted my question list. And however, I have two short questions. One is for Danny Coleman, other one's for the Premier. Danny, how many people went to the shelters?
I can answer that 1,000.
Okay, very good.
And in fact, I can elucidate further because in speaking to my colleague from Jamaica, they have hundreds more, like 600 members, serves me right. And they stood up some and they activated some, and the aggregate sum that he had into his shelters was 1,000. So when you compare the millions in Jamaica studying, aiding 385,000, I think we did very well.
Thank you very much. And the question for you is, we have done very well. We've been blessed and we have gone through this storm. However, it's at the beginning of the hurricane season and we believe that we will have many more. What do you say to those people who may become complacent with going through this and doing well and feel like they can manage any other hurricane?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a song that says, "Don't mess with my tutu." At the risk of plagiarizing, I'm going to say, "Don't mess with Mother Nature." Okay. And for us, it's not just a theological or ideological thing that the government is trying to intimidate or create fear. We're just trying to be safe, and because the well-being of our people is of paramount consideration. If you're entering that senior citizen age, like some of us, and you have those senior moments, if you are entering the temptation where you want to be free and loose and barefoot, then might I remind you that YouTube is a wonderful conduit to go back and type in Iowa 2004, Paloma 2008, and you'll have a vivid reminder as a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Donna.
Okay, thank you so much, Ralph. We now go to Zoom, where James Whitaker from the Compass is standing by. James?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Thank you again for everything you've done over the last few days. I just wanted to ask, obviously it's going to be a very busy season, and is there anything that, any key lessons that were learned from the storm that will help us for the 4 or 5 possible storms that may be coming ahead? And is there a sense that this is sort of a new normal for hurricane seasons now, to get storms this early?
Don, if I could take the latter first. I think it is a new normal. Obviously, we recognize that even those who didn't believe in climate change is a real thing. Those of us that believe in Bible over 2,000 years ago, it said that island and seas would be inundated, and paraphrasing, as sea levels would rise. So it's a new phenomenon, but for those of us who are paying attention to the signs of time, we're not in any way surprised. But what we can do is mitigate. And so one of the first takeaway lessons that we learned is that what we did up front with allowing people to be prepared, being reasonable as business entrepreneurs, to give them time to be good leaders within the government service, where we allowed our civil service time to go home, but also teaching our people to fish rather than just giving them a fish. And that's why I'm glad that my Minister of Tourism emphasized and reiterated when he had an opportunity to speak that the plyboard that we gave you is not for you to go and trade or to barter. It's for you to go and paint up if you didn't have a chance to paint it up, to preserve it, find a safe place to put it. And for me, that don't have somebody around always to batten it up, my safe place is on the windows till end of November. And that's one way we know we won't have the temptation to take it down so easily. The other takeaway I think that we ought to look at is that, as I said to the team this morning, we're excellent, we're prepared, our people are now. I think COVID was, I never thought I would find something good to say about COVID, but one thing I think COVID taught us is that when you get instructions from the officials, you listen to it. Before that, there was a little bit of blank. Let's keep it positive here. But the takeaway from that is that even during the storm, I think we're almost perfect. Is that the real test is going to come is with the recovery. This was an excellent test run. We came out unscathed practically. There is some cleanup that needs to be done, but I'm happy that people are taking its own initiative. So one other takeaway is that if you have your property, if you're able to do it, and some of you have persons that come to do landscaping, and if I just want to say kudos to the property in South Sound. When we visited there yesterday, they obviously kept their insurance in place. They weren't the culprits that take out your insurance, get your mortgage, and drop your insurance. Not only that, but they showed up and they realized that it was a need for security. So they put their own security, which did not put a strain on our national police to go there. In addition to that, they got persons to come out and board up the properties. What was very impressive was that in this short period of time, because we visited in the afternoon, Governor and I, they were also able to relocate the occupants that's there. Now, that is the type of civil responsibility that we want to see permeating throughout the various social stratification within our jurisdiction. Because when we begin to care about each other and be our brothers and sisters' care, there will be no other place like Cayman. We're small enough to have a perfect jurisdiction. That's why we have more than 120-something plus nationalities. The other takeaway is that when it comes to water, and it's a takeaway action from us. Water Authority falls under me, and it's no secret that I brag about them, and I still will brag about them. Was I disappointed that the policy was in place and was implemented the way it was? Yes, I was. And they're not hearing it here. They heard it before I came here. But I'm equally elated that when we brought them to the cabinet room, Ms. Julia and Tom, they're reasonable people, they're professional, and they are persons who live here and have an interest, and so it was extended to further time. The justification for that was that obviously during Ivan, we had a lot of infrastructural damage, and so it caused problems in recovery afterwards, and so they were trying to protect the infrastructure, seeing that the impact of the storm is going to be most heavily felt on the south coast of Grand Cayman, unlike Water Authority, who just serves the West Bay Peninsula, it was a different risk analysis that they had to do. But we're very grateful that CUC, the Water Authority, and all those decided to keep on. So I can tell you that that's a takeaway action, and it's not going to be just put on some shelf with us. We're going to be coming up with a reasonable policy that will protect the authority, whether that means that we have to build on a sleeping quarters for two-person to man the stations rather than going on inclement weather, or whether we have to tweak it. Otherwise, it will be accommodated. If I can borrow a statement that I heard PM Holness say this morning, that they had authorities, and I won't say quote unquote because I'm paraphrasing, but they had authorities. For example, the public authority is not a government authority, and their objectives and aspirations sometimes do not align to those of the government. But through diplomacy and governmental overarching umbrella and holistic perspective, they were going to do sufficient massaging to make sure they comply. So shall I leave it at that?
Thank you.
Donna, I just thought of applying a little bit further on that. James asked a very good question as to what we could have learned from this exercise, but particularly from a tourism perspective, I recognize that preparedness is going to be a big component to our spend in our economy. When I think back about how many guests that are here and the spend per day, we easily get over $5 million spent every day. And the fact that we are prepared to get back to normal so quickly means that people can get back to work, people can have salaries, business can open, money can start circulating in the economy. So we see that preparedness helps us with that, because literally I was so happy to sit before the Her Excellency and beside my Honorable Premier and watch American Airlines and Southwest and Delta fly across the cabinet room. That's because we have been prepared, and that will help people in our community. That means less money, the taxpayers' money we have to spend, because we're all back to work. So being prepared helps us from a costing perspective, and helps the people. So I want us to always be prepared, not only for your own lives, but for your economy and for your children and for your ability to pay your bills.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. James, further questions?
Yeah, thanks for that, Mr. Bryan. And just to follow on from that, in terms of the evacuation of tourists, I think we did have some reports of confusion, particularly among Airbnb owners, about what to tell tourists. Some tourists who didn't actually want to leave. I think even some were still arriving on Tuesday. So is there anything you kind of do differently next time? Anything you would look to change in terms of the evacuation protocols and what you tell your partners in the tourism industry, particularly in the Airbnb sector?
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. And obviously, we're going to be doing much post-analysis after the storm. Airbnb is rather unique, James, because it's individual owners. It's almost like 1,000 individual hotels. We obviously have a stronger relationship with the Cayman Islands Tourism Association, where accommodations fall under, as opposed to private Airbnb owners. But this is a learning curve for us, and maybe with their distribution, when a guest comes, you can have a card to say, in the case of emergencies, this is the government channels you should go to, zonings of where you are. So what we've learned so far is more information available for those independent providers and the Airbnb owners themselves to be in tune. So we're going to be working closely with that, and maybe be a part of the licensing regime through the Department of Tourism when we do our inspections. So information is what it is. There is the contractual parts that we can get involved with, which is the determination between the guest and the Airbnb owner, whether they want to leave or not. So I can't speak to that technicality, but we would always advise them as per their safety and help them to evacuate if they choose to, or if they want to stay with us, there's always the shelters that are available.
Okay. Donna, I can ask again.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah, so just to follow up and make sure I understood correctly, did the Premier say just a second ago that there was going to be no changes to the conservation law under this administration? Is that what she was saying, and why that change of heart? And do we think then that there needs to be anything else done to protect wetlands and that balance between development and the environment, given the kind of drainage and storm resilience role that some of those natural features perform for the Cayman Islands?
Thank you, Donna. In law, we would say that's a leading question, but as a former practitioner, I will respond accordingly. One, you did not hear me say that. Secondly, the question from Wendy was whether I was going to remove the scientists. Again, that was not the situation, so that was easy to respond to. The third rule is that there's a rule called anticipation, and currently the process that we've reached with the national conservation law is that Cabinet have now approved drafting instructions which have gone to Attorney General Chambers. We are not yet in possession of the draft bill. I anticipate that members will be in possession of the draft bill within the next 7 days, but I can tell you based on the instructions, I won't say Marl Road because there was more of them. The gravel road in Cayman did not quite get it right. But because I've been in this turf for a long time, I understand that truth has that innate, wonderful propensity and capacity to surfacing and becoming most conspicuous. Parliament's about to convene next week. I'll speak with Sir Alvin later today that we can confirm a date which we will publicize, and I would invite all persons with the anticipation to listen to Parliament, and you'll be pleasantly surprised that the rule of gossip has not died, and what is told to the first person by the time you get to the seventh person is so construed that you would have a difficulty, even on a magnifying glass, to see what was actually said in the beginning.
Well, thanks for clarifying, because I was a bit confused by your answer earlier. Just to, if I can squeeze in one quick additional question.
Final question, James. Yes, final.
Financial services. I was just wondering if there's any concern about insurance premiums, given the hit that some properties have taken repeated hits. Insurance has already gone up, and it's going to be a long summer as far as we're aware. And while he's on the microphone, I don't know if he has any words about the new Labour government and the potential impact on the financial services industry. Thank you.
Donna, can I just answer the last part first and give my colleagues the rest of the time to respond, which I'm sure he can do. Governor did intimate that this morning we jointly took a call from the now Foreign Secretary, David Lambie. It was a brief call, but it was an important enough call that we could get an indication of the way forward. We obviously, I spoke to him as the Premier of the country, also as the President and Chairman of UCOTS, the United Kingdom Overseas Territories, and quite a bit of conversation was about what now current law obtains, and firstly was the current status within Cayman, which I won't repeat because I've shared that with you, and I shared with him in a more abbreviated form. Then, because I had just come out of the CARICOM meeting with the overseas leaders, I was able to intimate to him what obtained in Barbados and Grenada, St. Vincent and Grenadines, Jamaica, and to make the contacts with him. So he has undertaken that he will speak to the now president, it's a new president, PM Mitchell from Grenada, to get an update. He will also speak to PM Motley, Mia of Barbados, because one of the things that came out of the CARICOM meeting was that we were forming a subcommittee with our financial persons, those who have been impacted, so that a consolidated collaborative report can be given, so that our agencies within the Caribbean and overseas can just have one point of contact as far as relate to financial assistance to especially the Eastern Caribbean countries that will need quite a bit of aid in that regard. And so I'll turn it over to my Deputy Premier at this time to respond, but I can assure you that based on the first one, which is the most important one for us, except for Prime Minister, I came away, not like Donald Trump, just looking at Putin in the eyes, but I came away with sufficient energy and synergy that I think that we have a new cautious optimism that Cayman has a modern partnership to enhance and augment.
Minister.
I think there were two questions. One was in relation to insurance. I understand from Chamber of Commerce that insurance adjusters are completing their assessments now. So when that information is fed back through to the Insurance Association, the Monetary Authority, we'll see what that tells us and then return to that question. On the second question, I don't think I can add much more to what the Premier has said. We look forward to working with the new government in line with international financial services standards and complying with our constitutional obligations.
Okay, James, thank you so much.
Thanks, Beth.
Yes, thank you very much. I've been getting a lot of questions from members of the public. I've chosen two of the questions to ask. I'm sorry for those who don't get an answer to their question directly, but the first question is the stay-in-place order came with little time for some people to comply. Is there any consideration being given to that order being given more people time to actually do what they need to do? So we have Danielle Coleman from HMCI to answer that question.
Thank you very much. I think everyone has to realise, of course, it's a very dynamic situation. So, of course, we have to err on the side of caution for everything. But given that we knew the storm was coming 3 or 4 days beforehand, the alert was given 72 hours beforehand. A same-place order is, and again, it's not an order per se, it's a strongly recommended policy. But again, I think it's a very dynamic situation. We have to look at the risk at hand of the storm coming, the speed, the size, and so forth. So, okay, decisions leading up to any hurricane are going to be very dynamic. And again, we just strongly encourage the public to always be listening in and making sure that they, are ready to step up and do the actions advised by government. I do want to mention, though, we did have 72 hours in this storm, or more, actually, 5 days in advance. The later season storms are going to be much quicker, and so those kind of things like stay-in-place orders are going to happen potentially even quicker than they have been this week. So, again, please, please, please be prepared for anything this season. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. The final question, I know we've discussed it before, but it's something that keeps coming up. This question asks, what protection can we offer for people who are compelled to work by private employers that are not given time to prepare themselves? Yeah. It's a question that just keeps coming up.
Repeat it one more time?
Yes, for persons who, we're telling everybody to get prepared, but there's some employers on island who are not giving their staff the time that they need to prepare. I mean, there's been like huge cry outs from a lot of people in private, particularly in the private sector, who just don't have the time to prepare because they're being told they have to work, and they're afraid that if they don't work, there's going to be repercussions. I know earlier this week, I believe it was Minister Bryan and maybe Premier O'Connor-Connolly as well said that there was really nothing that government could do to make it mandatory, but they were just calling on persons and companies and stuff to be cognizant of the needs of people in times like these.
No, I think if that is now, because you raised it again, so there must be, where there's smoke, there's fire. We're going to have to take that away with Commerce, Chamber of Commerce, and also with our Minister of Labor to see what measures need to be put in place to ensure that folks have adequate time to respond, because as you can see, this is no joke. People need adequate time to be able to prepare their families, their livelihoods. I think that's something now that we will have to truly investigate and make appropriate inquiries.
I'll just add, I think the Honourable Deputy Premier said it well in respect for us to take it away and have a look at it, but I would encourage persons who feel that their employer was unjust in their approach to allowing them to prepare themselves, speak to your MP. Hopefully one of your MPs is one of the government members. I'm quite sure the opposition will represent their people as well, so we can get a feedback of the practical circumstances that we're talking about, because only then can we assess that and compare that to the current legislation from a Labour perspective to see if it works well together. So we'll do a post-assessment and make sure that we can coordinate with Chamber, as the Honourable Deputy Premier has said, because we want this to be a good relationship, not a forceful relationship. So we're thankful for that, but the only way we can fix it is if we understand each circumstance in the various different industries across the country.
Thank you.
And Donna, obviously my minister responsible for labour and border control isn't here. He has some constituents matters that he had to attend to, but I certainly would have a sidebar word with him in addition to what my ministers have already said, because I think this provides a novel opportunity for Labour to sit down with both employer and employee to find out both sides of the coins and see how we can mitigate both sides. And if they're not reasonable and practical reason, if it's just a P&L and a profit earning thing, then I think there are policy decisions that the government certainly can review and implement and still not be draconian.
Okay. Any final words from panelists?
Premier, I just thought, as per the Honourable J. Ebanks, I just got a note to confirm that CUC can confidently say now that all customers negatively impacted by the hurricane has had power restored. Amen.
Any final words?
Could I just come in really briefly to say it's been really interesting listening to all of this, and I think it shows that now that we're looking back over the last few days, we're also really keen to take the learnings from it. It's something we've all been discussing together in the executive group. I think for me, it's kind of shown that our structures do work. We've got structures in place. It's amazing how many people are involved in these structures. I mean, we're literally talking about thousands of people who are plugged in somewhere or other in the different structures. Often feeding into Danny and the NEOC team and the emergency centre, but it does involve a lot of people. So I'm very aware the scale is quite big, and we're always up for more people. If there's volunteers out there, community people out there who would like to get involved, for example, in managing the shelters, which is something we talked about a bit earlier on today. It's really important to try and manage this scale, because I think we're aware if we get a lot more weather, and if we get it more frequently, we're all going to continue to get very tired. So actually, if you're out there and you're interested in becoming part of it, please talk to us, talk to your parliamentarians, because I think we're definitely up for that. Clearly, it's a partnership. The UK is going to also continue to be engaged. We do have a new government. That was mentioned today. Some questions about that. I feel really confident, totally confident that the UK government continues to be up for it. David Lammy was made Foreign Secretary at about 10 o'clock our time this morning, maybe 10:30 actually, and at 11:45 he was talking to our Premier. So that says it all, really. We have an important strategic relationship, and that will absolutely continue. Please, by the way, looking forward, I've been told to mention NEN's National Emergency Notification System. I really hope everyone's on it. Apparently in the last 48 hours we had an additional 1,300 users, so that's good. It's nens.gov.ky. Go on there, have a look at it, get on it, because we don't think we are anywhere near the end of the issues we might see this season. Thank you.
Okay. Deputy Premier?
Just a couple of special mentions. Coming off of the back of the Governor's comment in terms of working with the new Labour government in the UK, special shout out to our representative in the UK office, Dr. Tasha Ebanks Garcia. She's already been cultivating relationships with the Labour government in their shadow capacities for quite some time now, and has created a sense of education and promotion of the Cayman Islands to many of the key members who I think we've seen most of the appointments already, but there's still some more appointments to come through of some of the lower level ministers, and I think she's already set us some good groundwork. I try to think of unsung heroes. All 19 members of Parliament were working, but I don't think any of us would disagree. We'd do it without our constituency admin assistants, who were invaluable. They run around, even some of our volunteers, our supporters, who are also running around on our behalf. We may be the 19 faces, but there's a whole lot of people that come behind us. And then to pick up on the point of Labour, just because you don't see the Minister for Labour here, they're also out in their constituencies, so special mentions to Minister Seymour, Minister J. Ebanks, Minister Kathy Ebanks-Wilkes, PSs, Makiva Bush, Bernie Bush, Ms. Heather, all working tirelessly throughout these few exhausting days.
Okay,
thank you, and God bless them all.
I just wanted to dovetail on to what Governor just said, that, and what my DP said. When we were in London last in anticipation, we didn't think the election was going to be as early as July 5th. Although it happened, we were there. We were expecting for the year, but we did, by way of future-proofing our relationship with the United Kingdom, we did take the opportunity not only to just meet with the current minister responsible for our territory, but we also met with the shadow ministers who are now the ministers. And having said that, I think the important thing to recognize, even though there'll be changing of political groups along the way, the constant is that it's the United Kingdom and the Cayman relationship, because before we had the change this morning, the Lord David Cameron was on the phone with me this week, giving their assurances and wanting to find out how the United Kingdom could help us in the territory. And he was gracious enough this morning, after there was a change of government, to say, and I paraphrase, he indicate who the new person is, as I indicated, Honorable David Lambie, but he gave the assurances that there would not be any defects or continuation with the commitment of United Kingdom to the Cayman Islands. And I think that's important. And the icing of the cake then with the arrival, which was under the former government of sorry, my tongue is tying up. Yeah, the Trent, His Majesty's Service, I beg your pardon. She was on his way. And in some jurisdictions, when you have a change in the government, they could have been called back. She's probably in Jordan Harbor because she was supposed to arrive at 2 o'clock. And so that's why it's important, if I could close on this note, that unity be the commonality that drives through these national disasters, because we never know what the disaster is going to be. When we politicize it, it only is the people who suffer.
Mr. Bryan, I believe you have
Yeah, I just want to quickly say, because I think if I don't say this, I'll feel really terrible. I want to thank the board members and the CEOs of the relevant agencies who have worked so hard in my constitutional responsibility. Cayman's Airports Authority, the chairman, Johan Moxham, the CEO, Albert Anderson. Because of you, we were able to get people evacuated, and you worked very hard, and I'm proud of you. In respect to Cal, John Paul Clark, who is the chairperson, and Mr. Fabian Worms, you and your team and all the employees at Cayman Airways, you're awesome. You did an amazing job. At the Port Authority, the chairman, Klein Glidden, and the director, Mr. Paul Hurlston, because of you, we are now having cargo offloaded right in our harbor. In respect to the Cayman's National Attractions Authority, the chairperson, Ms. Carla Reed, and Mr. Patrick Thompson, thank you for keeping those attractions up and going. Mr. Elio Solomon, chairman for the Cayman Turtle Center, and Mr. Chris Jackson, the CEO, thank you for keeping our turtles safe and our attraction open. And most importantly, my chief officer, Mr. Strand Borden, thank you for making me look good all the time, and Ms. Marzita Borden, who is the acting director for the Department of Tourism, for keeping the people informed and having our tourism product back open. God bless you all. Good day.
Thank you, Minister Bryan. Final words from Minister Turner.
Yes, I'll be very brief at the tail end of everything, but I'd like to reiterate unsung heroes are true. Our constituency office assistant, my little one, Bianca, she may be short and small, but let me tell you, she's a powerhouse when it comes to the Prospect constituency office. I want to publicly thank her and all the volunteers, including her husband, my husband, who was out there helping in the distribution when we were in here, strategic in our constitutional roles. But the biggest one, unsung heroes, are the constituents. They adhered to the calls, they used those community WhatsApp chats. We were all connected by the level and the pace in which the communication was actually being dispensed to them, and I must say I thank them for their cooperation and understanding. I know that they are very grateful for the pump system, and I'll reiterate the importance of the government finding a long-term permanent solution in dealing with wastewater. We know it may be a nuisance to some, but I must say that the people of Prospect, the greater Prospect, are very grateful. And I know it may be a bother to some persons because of where it's strategically placed, but let me reiterate that anyone found tampering with any government resource that is there to help the greater good, I will personally push that for them to be dealt with the fullest extent of the law. This is a very interesting time that we're dealing with. This is a national issue. It is a matter of national importance that we keep our people safe, and anyone who is not at all considerate or feels that we are bothersome in trying to do the best for the wider good and is caught tampering with any government equipment, they will be dealt with the true extent of the law. I will also like to reiterate and reaffirm, and we ask for the cooperation of our landscapers when they're actually cleaning up debris. These leaf blowers, I have spoken with the chief officer for NRA, and thanks to them and the DEH crews, aiding with the assistance of the removal of this storm water. we're going to clear the drains, we're going to vacuum and we're going to blow the drains. But as we are clearing up, please avoid from blowing, using these leaf blowers to put them into the drains. That's defeating the purpose of what we're wanting to do here to help us get rid of the standing water, because we're expecting more rains this weekend again, and I'm quite sure the NRA crews will be out vacuuming and blowing these drains, and those pumps that have been strategically placed throughout the islands will continue to do their job. But kudos to the people of Prospect and Red Bay. Thank you for your continued support, and God bless us all.
Okay, thank you.
One final thing. I haven't utilized this time to thank the persons, Mark and all those. I've already done it online, and I finally get to go home tonight, so I thought I'd use when I go home to thank them personally, but I haven't forgotten it.
Okay, thank you, Premier O'Connor Connolly. And as always, thank you to you, the public, and of course, members of the media for joining us here today on this press briefing. If you'd like to watch it on demand, you can go to the Cayman Islands Government's YouTube channel. I'm Donna Bush. Have a great rest of the day.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit Cayman Airways